that, and we'll open it up for questions for Coach.
You have any cool outfits lined up for that one?
Oh, I've got outfits, man. They give me outfits to wear, and I'm just like loving it, so I don't have to spend $1.
Do you get a selection, or do you just go with what they got?
Whatever they drop off at the house.
Kim, do you have an update on Autumn for us?
Has her MRI today at 12:45, actually. So, you know, I don't want to speculate, but it didn't look good when you're coming off the floor. But actually, I haven't spoken to the doctor, but I spoke to our trainer, and she said her evaluation from what they did, whatever you do, looked promising, like looked good, but you won't know anything until you, you know, do an MRI. So we'll know more today.
She's very important to the team,
You think?
obviously, with-
You know a thing or two about sports, huh, Jim? We lost our composure when she went down. I mean, at that point, she already had, 12 rebounds. Man, she might have been breaking a career high the way she was going, but let's hope for the best, and we'll prepare, you know, as if we don't have her. And then we'll see what they tell us.
How much more movement do you want out of your bigs? Do we have Mike?
Yeah. Okay, let Jim finish. Hang on,
Yeah,
babe.
and would you give us a scouting report on Vandy?
On Vandy, you know, new coach Shay Ralph was on Gino's staff at UConn for a long time, runs a lot of the same stuff that he does offensively. They're competitive in games, they're winning games, much improved. When you watch her teams play, man, they're playing hard. I mean, they are playing hard, and they realize what their deficiencies are on the offensive end, so they're making up for it on the defensive end. Cambridge on their team leads the country in steals, and they're not big like we have bigs inside. They're not big like that, but they're so active and they move a lot defensively that they create a lot of havoc. Look at the scores of their games. They're in every ball game, even those that they lose. So, you know, she's instilling a sense of urgency, a sense of passion in how hard they play. You're going to see 2-3 zone. You're going to see a 2-2-1 3/4 press. We've got to handle the press, and we've got to be able to attack the zone.
Just, is that the trade-off that you get with 6'4" and above, that they're just not going to be as mobile, or is that something that you need to get more out of?
It just depends on their body makeup. I've had 6'4" athletes that are face the basket post players. I've had 6'4" back to the basket post players. What we have is two bigs that can and can play with their backs to the basket, but those kids can also shoot face-ups. What they lack right now, and it's just, you gotta be fair. You can't expect those guys to go out there and guard 6'1" three-point shooters who can take you off the dribble and do that. So we're asking them to do that, particularly last night when Autumn got injured. And I thought they battled, and that's a lot of why I went to the 3-2 zone, is because, you know, I can't get frustrated at them, and I don't want them to lose their confidence on the offensive end because they feel like they let their team down on the defensive end. Movement against the half-court zone, that's just playing together. That's learning to play together, screen in the zone, get the ball down at the tee, get it at the short corner. We have guards that really can score the ball, so sometimes we're not delivering the pass to those posts when they're open.
Kim, you talked about losing composure for a second whenever Autumn went down last night, but you came back and you won. What was the difference between last night and, say, when you faced South Carolina and lost that lead in the game?
Well, one, talent. South Carolina's the #1 team in the country. But Missouri beat them. So the difference, I don't know that I can just tell you there was much difference, because I felt like our kids did the same thing that they did against South Carolina. It's just South Carolina had a little bit more inside presence. And so it was just probably talent by South Carolina more than anything. I thought, just as in the South Carolina game, we lost the lead, and we kept fighting. I go back to that South Carolina game. If you'll remember, we're down 3. Alexis Mars goes in, and it's a layup, and it's in, and then it just rims out. So if you make that, it's a 1-point game, and it goes back to what we were in last night, just back and forth. So I don't think there was any magical thing that we did better last night than we did against South Carolina. I think it was pretty much the same thing.
Coach, being a former point guard, what does Khayla Pointer mean to this team and to you?
I don't think Khayla Pointer, honestly, gets enough recognition. I think that we recognize her at LSU, but I just think she needs to be talked about more. She needs to, she's one of the better premier elite guards in the country. What can't she do? That's what I would ask people. What is it that she cannot do that makes somebody better than her? She can shoot the 3. She can pass the ball. She can defend. She can rebound. I think she's as good a guard in this country, and she can play multiple positions on the perimeter. I just don't think that she gets enough recognition. But that comes with winning. The more we win, the more recognition we will get, and the more she will get.
Kind of in that same vein, I was just wondering this, is the improvement in Faustine's game made Jalen better because maybe they're not facing as much defense?
I think that and the addition of Hannah, the addition of Alexis Mars, you're scoring more points than you scored last year. Well, that's not all of a sudden because we're, averaging 30 at each position. It's because you brought in just a few little kids that give you more offense, more rebounds, and you become a little bit more rounded as a team. You're not reliant on one kid. And I think that's what's so enjoyable to watch Khayla, is that maybe in the past, Khayla felt like she had to do it all. She doesn't have to do it all, and she still gets her numbers. And she gets it within the team concept.
Do you remember Jalen's answer last night to the question about just her game? I watched I think we put it on social or whatever, and you just kind of sit there. I just wonder how proud does that make you when you kind of hear the light bulbs, clicking for them and then them figuring out their own worth, to some degree?
Well, our job as a coach is to make them uncomfortably comfortable. If you can make them uncomfortable in practice, the game should be easier. If you make them understand the body language and getting down on yourself, and you bring it to their attention and you don't allow them to do that, it's like raising your own children. What you tolerate is what they'll become. And if you don't tolerate it, they have to change. And I just think that I can't judge her on anything that happened in the past. All I can tell you is the kid plays as hard in practice as she does in a game. She takes charges in practice. And I think because of that, she's reaping the benefits out there during the games.
Kim, since it is the We Back Pat game, I just wonder if you could talk about your relationship with Coach Summitt, competing against her, and what did you, those few weeks or however long you were with her in 1984 on the Olympic team, what did you learn from her, if anything, that you still that still influences you today?
I could sit here and talk about Pat Summitt, and I think I will for a while. When I was a player, we played Tennessee every year, and we beat them every year. And I'll never forget, Pat played everybody. She wasn't afraid to play anybody. And she said before her career is over, if the last thing she does is beat Leon Barmore and Louisiana Tech. And then I was selected to be on the '84 Olympic team, and she was the coach. And I'm starting, I'm doing great, and we go to Taipei, Taiwan before the Olympics, and I wake up and can't walk and had a stress fracture in the top of my foot. So immediately my thought was, I've worked all my life, and now they're going to have to pick up an alternate. And I remember her calling me in her room, and being that she was a player at one time, I know she just knew what I was thinking, and she just comforted me and said, I will not pick up an alternate. You've earned the right to be on this team, and the doctors tell me in 4 weeks you're good to go. And so that was the first time that I really had a one-on-one with her in a hotel room. And then we, of course, go to the Olympics, we win the gold medal, and then I get into coaching. And I remember that, Pat had Tyler, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I was like, can I do this? Can I really do this and be a good mother too? And Pat came to Louisiana Tech when I was an assistant coach, and I kind of cornered her before their practice started, and I said, help me, tell me how I can do this, how can I make this work? And she again comforted me, and she told me that it can be done, and she told me all the things that she did to get help as a mother and be a very good coach. And then years go by, and I go through my divorce, and years go by, and then she's going through her divorce. And she called me and she said, I need your help. Well, I thought to myself, wow, Pat Summitt is calling me about her divorce and help her and walk her through what to expect and how to handle it with the children and how to handle it financially and all those things. And that's the kind of relationship I had with her. I was not one of her players, didn't know her like the players do or did. I was not one of her assistants, but those moments just will last forever. When she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, you know who her last game was against? The very last game she ever coached? And I'll never forget that press conference. It was a bittersweet moment because while we were happy, I just realized she wasn't ever going to coach again. And how happy can you be for your team and yet at the same time realize your role model and somebody that you looked up to and has done so much for this game. I didn't take any great pleasure in winning that game other than you're a competitor. And then Kramer was playing baseball here at LSU, and they were in Knoxville, and I, of course, flew to the game, and he bugged me all that morning, Mom, go see Pat, go see Pat. At that time, she was in a facility, and I didn't want to see her. I knew where she was health-wise, and I just refused to go see her, and he just wouldn't let up. And something that morning just told me, go. And I called and got permission at that time from Holly Warlick, who had the lady in charge, and I went to see her. And it was just touching. It was, all I kept telling her was, I love you, and she would repeat it. And I thought one of the funny, cute stories is when they brought her to meet me in the room that I was waiting for her in, she was drinking a purple Gatorade as they brought her to me. And I just thought that's so Pat because, you know, she's an athlete. She's drinking a Gatorade. And then 4 weeks later, I was awakened by a phone call before daylight that she had passed away. And, you know, she was a role model for me. She was a mentor because our lives were very similar, both as competitors, as former student athletes, as coaches and mothers, and divorced mothers. And so we back Pat. There'll never be another one like her, ever. I don't care how many championships anybody wins. She has done more for this sport than most people really know. And I was blessed to have been a part of her life, although a very small part. She was a very big part of my life.
I've got time for a couple more questions.
One of the things that I think is funny about Will and where their program is right now is he's constantly telling us, and maybe telling the public through us, that they're a good team and we need to get used to it. I know you've talked about, you know, reassessing some of your goals in the future that, you know, with the remainder of your schedule. Is the same thing, could the same thing be said, that it's okay to understand that you're good and then take your game to that next level?
I think, listen, I think people who love to win, and I think people who understand certain aspects of basketball can tell if you're putting a product on that floor that is sustainable or if it's a fluke. There's nothing fluke about his team. I love watching his kids play. They play defense, and they play long. They're athletic. I always look at the defensive end of the floor first, and if you find coaches that make them play defense, particularly this day and age, you get a lot of respect from people who love the game. And yeah, they're good. They're good. As far as our program, listen, I don't think any of us sitting in this room thought today we'd be 16-2. So I am as pleased as anybody in this community and at this school, but I'm most happy for those seniors. I'm most happy. Now, what you have to understand is I inherited those seniors. Those seniors will be gone next year. And if you think that those freshmen that are going to have to come in that we recruit and play next year, we're just going to pick up where this group left, it doesn't work that way. But you'll be able to see through recruiting efforts, are we getting the elite players? And if you are, those elite players are going to be thrown to the wolves as freshmen and sophomores, and they may not have the same record or do some of the same things early in their career. You have to be realistic about how you build it. And the 5 seniors that I inherited this year have made it not easy, but they have made it enjoyable. They have really jump-started a new era of women's basketball here.
Any more questions for Coach?
We good? Thank y'all. Off the record. Damn boy's gonna ask me for a date, isn't he?